Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. Mr. Teuber, who had surgery today, is unable to attend. The school board meeting of September 8, 2015 is now called to order. The time is 6:02 p.m. At this time, we request that all electronic devices be turned off or put in the silent mode. Also, we ask that you please refrain from using flash photography, except during the special presentations portion of the meeting. We would like to take this opportunity to remind members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student reaches his or her highest personal potential, and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, the presentation of colors and Pledge of Allegiance, one acknowledgement, public comment, consent action items, which include 3 items under resolutions, 4 items under executive services, 1 item under business and finance, 2 items under operations, 2 items under teaching and learning, 3 superintendent's recommendations, 1 attorney's recommendation, 4 items under other business, and I have 2 items for good cause. The first item is to recommend the acceptance of the letter of resignation for purpose of retirement submitted by Superintendent Dr. Nancy J. Graham. Mr. Martin, would you please address this?
This is an item was just received today. Due to the importance of this issue, I expected that the board would want to act on it promptly.
I find good cause for placing this on the agenda. The second good cause item is to approve recommendation to terminate the investigation of the conduct of the superintendent, Dr. Nancy J. Graham, in the matter of Dunbar Community School investigation of testing violations. Mrs. Orthodoxou, this is your warning. Another disruption in this meeting and you will be escorted. Okay, this is your second warning. Would you please escort Mrs. Orthodoxou from the meeting? She's disrupting it. Mr. Martin, would you please address the
This item, of course, is related to the first, with the recommendation to accept the resignation. There wouldn't be any purpose in going forward with the investigations. That's why I'm bringing that recommendation this evening.
Okay, thank you. I find good reason to proceed with this item on the agenda. That being done, board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Ms. Fisher will deliver the invocation, after which Mrs. Dozier will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, I'm sorry. Mrs. LaRiviere will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise for the invocation.
Please bow your heads. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to gather together this evening. We ask your blessings on all here present. Please guide and direct this meeting so that it is full of wisdom and productivity. Help us to work with responsibility, to develop strong relationships with the Lee County community, and to have respect for one another. Inspire us to make decisions which will benefit our school community. You are the source of all blessings. Please bless and protect our students, staff, and families with health, happiness, and peace of mind and heart. For this and all of your gifts, we praise and thank you. Amen.
Amen. Introducing the cadet who will present the colors this evening is Colonel Rodney Scott Robinson, Senior Army Instructor at Fort Myers Senior High. Colonel Robinson retired after 29 years of military service with the United States Army National Guard. He served in various assignments during his career, including Aviation Battalion and Group Commander. He is a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom. This is Colonel Robinson's 4th year as a JROTC instructor in the district. Will you please?
Thank you, ma'am. Presenting the national colors tonight is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Clancy Cornell. of the Fort Myers High School JROTC Green Wave Battalion. He is a Green Wave senior and our cadet battalion commander. Cadet Cornell has competed as a member of our Green Wave JROTC Raider Challenge team. He is a member of the National Honor Society, National English Honor Society, National Science Honor Society, Rho Kappa, and is a student government representative. He served last year as our battalion command sergeant major. He will earn his IB diploma upon graduating in the spring. Cadet Cornell wishes to participate in the Army JROTC program at the University of Florida and study biology or chemistry in an effort to become a doctor in the United States Army.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. The next item on the agenda. What is he saying?
Ms. Morgan, I would suggest that it might
Yes,
be best to
excuse
take
me,
a brief
thank you.
recess to give members of the public an opportunity to review the good cause agenda items before you proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. At this time, we will now take a 10-minute recess so that those of you who wish to read the good cause items that are available may do so before we proceed with public comment.
There are copies at the back of the room. There'll be staff available to hand those to you. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a card and submitted that to me before the meeting began, you'll be called in the order of the cards submitted. If you did not submit a card but still wish to address the school board this evening, the school board chair, Ms. Morgan, will give you an opportunity in a moment to express that desire. The rules concerning public comment to the school board are posted at the back of the room. The school board does not respond during public comment time to remarks made by speakers. At the conclusion of public comment time, the school board chair may address concerns raised by speakers or may assign responsibility to the superintendent to do so. Ms. Morgan, this evening I have 23 cards.
Is there anyone on the right side of the auditorium who did not fill out a card and wishes to address the board? Your name? Both of you. Kathy? Nevin Marshall? Yes? Is there anyone else on the right side? On the left side? Start with.
I have a card for you, Ms. Pruitt.
Is there anyone else on the left side who's got it?
Back in
Oh, in the
two
back.
Annie Spielmaker.
Have I missed anyone? Oh, yes. Okay, Mr. Martin, how many do we have?
Well, we
5, 6,
have 24 cards.
15 speakers. It's 39.
Count 15 hands, we're well over 30, so there'd be 1 minute per speaker.
Okay.
Try to move through these promptly. I'll be calling the cards in groups of 5. If you could please proceed to one of the 2 lecterns, and I will call your name a second time before you begin your comments. The first 5 cards are Mr. George Fox, Ms. Susan Millay, Bonnie Raitt, William Tubb, and Robert Schaefer. Mr. Fox.
Thank you. What a fantastic presentation by the ROTC cadet. Have hundreds of them in this district. That's good. And I hope it did not escape this board's attention in the budget meeting last hour that the budget for the ROTC program has been cut. Take a good look at it. You just cut the ROTC program, the shining example of the nation, the best ROTC program, and the budget's been cut. So once again, I'm going to come up and talk about debt service and the $51 million that's there if this board will get off its you know what, and act and do the right thing. I'd like to finish by thanking Dr. Graham. You're the best superintendent this district has ever had. You roll up your sleeve every day, come to work, and I just admire you. You did a great job, and if you stay active and get back into business, somebody will be very lucky to have you. Thank you.
Susan Millay.
Dr. Graham, I want to thank you for your leadership. Thank you for setting high expectations of staff, for introducing us to tools and methods for professional growth, and for uniting us around the common goal to educate and support the 90,000 future leaders in our schools. Thank you for demonstrating integrity in your actions and your words. Despite offensive personal attacks on you that were not warranted, you have taken the high road and continue to focus on the growth of our students and improving operational processes. Please take with you the knowledge that despite the noise, we heard you. Despite the gray, you shine. I wish that for you that in your next endeavor, your message will be heard and will be well received. Thank you.
Bonnie Ray?
My name is Bonnie Raitt, retired teacher of Lee County and a product of Lee County Schools. If you are a regular reader of the Civil War Times, the Confederate battle flag is a familiar part of your world. The symbolism of the flag is simple and straightforward. It represents the Confederate side in the war. The Confederate battle flag was not, in fact, the Confederate flag. It was not known as the Stars and Bars. The name properly belongs to the first national flag of the Confederacy. The rebel flag represents the Southern roots. It's a constitutional right to fly the rebel flag, not to amend or change the code of conduct. It's the cousin of the old red, white, and blue. Race is not an issue. The rebel flag has nothing to do with being white or black.
Ms. Raitt, your time is up, ma'am.
Pardon?
Your time is up, ma'am. Thank you. 1 minute, ma'am. William Tubb?
Board members, Dr. Graham, Mr. Martin, my name is William Tubb. Good evening, Dr. Graham. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you a happy birthday and give you my sincere thanks for the leadership you've given to me and this district for the past several years. You and Dr. Desamoris inspire me daily. Board members, I'm sorry to say that my faith in your ability to lead this district in a positive manner has been shaken. The truly wonderful things that are being done by for the children of Lee County are at risk. Time will tell if you can pull yourselves together, put personal agendas aside, and work together to lead the 11,000 employees and 93,000 students of this district to a place where every learner can reach his or her highest potential.
Speakers 6 through 10 are Tara Jenner, Tamison Traeger, Yepram Dervahanian, Nasa Borkert, and Jean-Ann Faleris. Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you. I had intended to speak about testing tonight and will continue to do so despite the important announcement at the beginning of the meeting, because testing will remain a huge issue for the district no matter who your superintendent might be. It's time for the Lee School Board to take leadership again. There's things that you can do to help continue the assessment reform movement that your vote to opt out last year helped catalyze. First, do not approve the district State Assessment and District Progress Monitoring Plan, even as amended. The superintendent's recommendations continue too much testing. It's time to say enough is enough. Just say no. We will not use tests that have not been validated, despite the false claims of the state superintendent. And second, adopt a resolution rejecting the results from the 2015 spring test as a way to evaluate the district's teachers. That is what the superintendent in Leon County is advocating and what his school board is likely to vote in favor of tonight, as will other boards across the state. It's time to send a message, enough is enough, no to high-stakes testing. Thank you.
Sir. Tara Jenner.
Going to give this my best auctioneer routine because I have a number of items. One, the timing of these announcement is circumspect given the fact that we all knew that Mr. Teuber wasn't going to be here, and this is going to end up with a definitely different position as potentially voting by the board on the resignation of Nancy Graham. Secondly, I'd like to address the recommendations by our legal advisor, who I think are still is still a little circumspect. He says that there's no direct fiscal impact from the recommendation. Just because it's allocated in our budget does not mean that there is no fiscal impact. When we're paying retirement benefits and other severance pays to Nancy Graham, that is a fiscal impact to our county. I would like to know officially what time it was that Mrs. Morgan delivered this letter and correspondence to you guys, because the time in which we were notified of this event and this situation is way too short, and an additional time period probably should be given the significance of this. Secondly, as far as the recommendation on doing the investigation, we've paid half of the fee already out. We might as well finish the job, because it says the employment decisions needed to be decided upon. Just because she's retiring doesn't mean
Thank you,
that
Ms.
it's
Shannon.
not.
Your time's up. Tamison Traeger.
My name is Tamison Traeger. Tonight I would like to address the proposed testing schedule. When I consider the 30 hours on the current schedule for middle school proposed testing, 21 of them are district checkpoints. What will 21 hours of new assessments tell you about my daughter? Nothing that her teachers do not already know. That she is one of thousands of gifted and talented students in the district who have met the grade level standards. That the 21 hours spent on district tests could have been used on enrichment, project-based learning, and creative thinking, all the things that her teachers are highly trained to do and that her EP dictates be done in the classroom. So what will be done at the district with this data? I shudder to think that the primary reason that my daughter has a new Chromebook is for 21 hours of district tests. Please vote no on the proposed testing schedule and demand that a plan be provided on how the district assessment data will be used. Thank you.
Mr. Dervahanian.
Good evening. Yep, from Dervahanian, Lehigh Acres. I'm talking about the Confederate flag. Tolerance is the right to wave that flag. It's the First Amendment right, it's free speech. And why anybody would deny me or anybody else that right is a bigoted, bullying way of telling people what they can do and can't do. I'm tired of the NAACP going to our county commissioners, bullying them, and now they're coming to this school board and bullying the school board about this flag. So I'm tired of it. It's time to get off this subject and let people do what they want to do. They got the freedom to do it. Thank you.
Ms. Borkert.
School board members, Nasa Borkert. I graduated from Lehigh Senior High School here in Lee County 20 years ago. My high school graduation speech at salutatorium was dedicated to Dr. Graham. She was my mentor at that time and still remains to be such. I have 3 children in the Lee County School District, and there is no one better that I would want overseeing the future of my children than Nancy Graham. You know what your rules are for public comment, no personal attacks. And I am ashamed that 2 months ago, the school board meeting that I did sit down and watch on television with my children around, I had to turn off because I didn't want them to see what was occurring. I am all about expressing yourself, but personal attacks are unwarranted and unnecessary and not permitted. So I would hope in the future superintendents are dealt with more respect. And to Dr. Graham.
Thank you, Ms. Borkert. Your time's up, ma'am. Speakers 11 through 15 are Mara Vortries, Virginia Sisk, Samantha Caldwell, Michaela Burton, and Marley Rockwood. Ms. Faleras.
Thank you. I am simply here this evening to say happy birthday to my superintendent. I am here to honor someone who I have had an opportunity to work with for a very long time and to know what that relationship has meant to me, but also to the district. So, for myself, I say thank you. I am honored, and I appreciate all that you have done in the service of the Lee County School District.
Hello, I'm Mara Vertrees. And I'm
Excuse me, Ms.
also
Vertrees, let me start your time. Very good, thank you.
personally to Dr. Graham. It has been a great honor to work with someone who is absolutely devoted and dedicated to the personal growth and the intellectual growth of every child in this district and to all of the adults she works with. Through her leadership, we have all become better educators. I know I have become a better leader and educator because of her, and I thank you, Dr. Graham, from the bottom of my heart.
Ms. Sisk?
Good evening, board members. My name is Virginia Sisk, and I'm one of your proud educators here in this district. I am here to also wish the superintendent a very happy birthday, and to mention that when you began your time here, you started a mantra that this is going to be a great day in the school district. And my coworkers and I, we giggled a little bit about it when you first came. But every single day since, you have done exactly that when you've walked in the door. You have made this a great day in Lee County Schools. So I wish you well in your future endeavors and thank you for your service.
Samantha Caldwell?
Hello, my name is Samantha Caldwell, and I stand with Michaela Burton and Marley Rockwood on the issue of the Confederate flag. We represent a number of students in Lee County who believe the Confederate battle flag is a symbol of hate and should be banned within the Code of Conduct. We could stand here and talk for 3 minutes about the facts of the flag, as we previously did in our letter sent to you all. The facts that link the flag's uses to hate groups such as the KKK and skinheads, or we could talk about its adoption by multiple states during the civil rights movement to boycott the Supreme Court's ruling on integrating schools. We could talk about how it's still used around the world to represent oppression and hate. We could tell you all of these facts, but we have much more to talk about.
Ms. Burton?
My name is Michaela Burton. We have limited rights in areas such as speech and expression, but we ultimately have rights to safety, to be respected, and to be free of discrimination. Although the flag symbolizes heritage to some, it hinders my right to safety within school. I know I don't only speak for myself when I say I sit in class and feel outright disrespected when I see that flag displayed so proudly by the people I'm supposed to consider my second family. It's easy to request that you leave that hateful symbol at home for 6 hours a day, but to ask black students to put their feelings of oppression and disrespect on hold cannot be done as easily. The flag has always been an issue for me all 4 years that I've attended North High. This is the only year I was able to find courage, confidence, and the support of my peers to speak up about it. The fact that I've felt unable to speak up against it shows the discriminatory and oppressive effects it can have on students.
The speakers number 16 through 20 are Bethany Ryder, Dr. Amy Desamores, Mr. Don Armstrong, Christopher Bartlett, and Martha Hayes. Ms. Rockwood.
And school board, we request that you forget about the public's voices and focus on the students. We as students have rights. The flag's connotation hinders African Americans from rights the school gives us. Not only does the school guarantee these rights, but also the ACLU, which states that all students have the right to feel free from discrimination. As you referred us to the Tinker versus Des Moines case, we assume you know the ruling. However, from every public response we've seen, you have stated that the school has to be disrupted in order to have something banned. Yet the court case also states that if certain expression hinders another student's rights, then it has to, of course, to be banned. If the flag infringes on the rights of so many students, why are you continuing to let it fly? Just because some people believe it means heritage cannot dispute the fact that it also means oppression and racism. The fact is you can't differentiate who uses the flag as symbol for hatred and who uses it as white supremacy. It obviously poses the possibility of racism and discrimination on school grounds, which ultimately is why the battle flag should be placed under offensive symbols in the Lee County's Code of Conduct. Thank you for letting us speak our minds. We hope you listen to your hearts and what's best for the students of Lee County.
Ms. Ryder.
I attend North High, and I would like to start by saying that freedom of speech should not be seen as violated by the removal of the Confederate flag, as freedom of expression is already limited on school grounds, which are supposed to be all-inclusive. The Confederate flag, a battle flag nonetheless, oversaw bloodshed on the field and the representation of oppression towards millions of people. Some argue that the Confederate flag may represent the fight for states' rights. However, the Civil War was fought primarily concerning slavery, evident in the Confederate Constitution. Not only has the flag proved to be a distraction, which is reason enough, according to the Code of Conduct, to be banned, but it also qualifies as a gang symbol, which is already forbidden on school grounds. Therefore, it already meets several requirements to be banned according to the Lee County School District Code of Conduct, in addition to the offensive threat it demonstrates towards many students on a regular basis. Thank you.
Dr. Desamores?
Dr. Graham, members of the board, Amy Desamore. As a parent of numerous children formerly and currently in our schools, there are things that I absolutely expect and demand as a parent. I expect my children's environment to be safe, nurturing, and challenging. I expect them to learn something important and relevant each day, and schools should play an important part in helping to prepare my children for life after high school. I can truly say that has been and continues to be my experience with all of my kids in each of their schools. It takes a good leader with vision to put people in the right places to make that happen. So thank you, Dr. Graham, for your leadership vision in putting the right people in the right places to make this happen for all children in the district. The focus of this district should be about all kids. Thank you for making that clear to all of us, and it shows what happens in our classrooms every day. As an employee of this district, I expect to be treated with respect, I expect to be given expectations and the opportunity to meet them, and I expect for my work to be centered around the vision and the mission of the school district and successes to be celebrated. Thank you, Dr. Graham.
Dr. Desamores? Mr. Armstrong?
For the record, my name's Don Armstrong. This afternoon, I was listening to the briefing meeting, and I heard Dr. Graham mention we need to educate our teachers. We don't need to educate our teachers. We're lucky and fortunate enough to have some of the brightest teachers in the country, if not the world. Our teachers have opinions and ideas, and if we would listen to what they have to say and let the teachers teach, instead of giving so many tests, you would find that our students would thrive so much better, and the world would be trying to catch up to us, not the other way around. Now, as far as Dr. Graham's resignation, I'm a peacekeeper. I don't believe in beating anybody up. What I do believe in is the board's decision that they will discuss what is going to happen and discuss it very thoroughly and make an educated decision for the district and our students. Thank you.
Mr. Bartlett?
Bartlett, I love my son and daughter more than the world. I need to ask you a question. What is more important than the life of a child? Is 1 minute more important? Is there a single instance when 1 minute is more valuable than the safety of a child? This year in Cape Coral, Jane and Dylan are required to cross a canal bridge walking down the edge of Kismet Parkway, a road where cars speed past at more than 55 miles an hour. The same road where a boy last year was hit and killed by a speeding deputy sheriff. They are scared. If it was just a matter of distance, fine. If they were asked to walk down a safe street, fine. They are not. What I'm asking is their bus 2621 stop at the end of their street because it's a safe street. A street where the bus goes by every morning, not turn, go out of its way, not change its route. Can you please tell me when 1 minute is more valuable than the safety of 2 children? I need your help. You are my last hope. Thank you.
Speakers 21 through 24 are Claudia Cowart, Sally Bammon, Renee Wagner-Bacina, and Jacqueline Perez. Ms. Hayes.
I wanted to speak tonight to thank Dr. Graham for her wonderful tenure as our superintendent. During trying times, she has never responded with anything but professionalism and respect. I respected her when I came here, and I respect her now more than ever. She has done an excellent job of bringing the practices and the procedures to our children to help them have a successful life, and their reach will be well beyond Lee County. What she has done is prepared these kids for the world, and I, for one, am proud to know her, and I am so thankful I had the opportunity to work with her. Thank you.
Ms. Cowart?
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Let me start over again. Stay right there. It's on now, please.
Thank you. I'm Claudia Cowart. I want to say to Nancy Graham, as a business leader and a community leader, I've appreciated knowing you as a friend. The work that you've done for this community is outstanding, and I'm very, very sad that your retirement had to come at this point in time. I'm very, very proud of you. I want to wish you a happy birthday, and I love you to death. Thank you.
Ms. Bamman?
Is it on? Okay. I want to wish my dear friend Nancy Graham and boss a very happy birthday. And from my heart, I want to tell you how much it means, your love and your devotion to all of us that work for you and the children. And thank you for all you've done and just the happiness that you've given us and every day at our school. And thank you so much. And I love you too.
Ms. Wagner-Pechiva?
I'm also an educator here of Lee County Schools, and I would like to speak to Dr. Graham tonight and thank you for all of your service and your leadership in making sure that all children matter. And also that they have the opportunity to learn at their levels. On your birthday, I'd like to wish you a happy birthday. And I'd also like to say thank you from all of the children of Lee County. Thank you.
Ms. Perez?
My child has endured personal attacks for the last 2 years, starting in November, from the district and its employees. On Friday, I received a package from Attorney Dodich that contained several emails that were really horrific about the behavior of the district employees, and one of them was actually from Jeanne Folaris, dated December 19, 2013, CCing Nancy Graham, how she engaged Bob Serrera, who is a lobbyist, to stop Marco Rubio from interfering and helping my child in this case. This is so unethical. I need to get, this is Bob Serra to Jeanne Folaris and to Nancy Graham. I need to get the contact information for Senator Rubio's aide, who inquired with the district about the bullying issue, so I can follow up as we discussed. I completed our communication with Representative Rodriguez. They had additional questions, which I only want to share by phone. So he's eliminating the email. This is kind of unethical behavior, and corruption needs to stop. And my child has been attacked for 2 years, a 12-year-old child.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Your time is up, ma'am. Those are all the cards, Ms. Morgan.
Dave Yaniton.
My name's Dave Yanatone. There is an old adage that says people get the leadership they deserve. I'm speaking to the school board because I find that your leadership is sadly lacking. I find that when things are going well, you take the credit. When things are going bad, let's blame the superintendent. I believe some of you have personal agendas, and I think it's a shame, and you have not acted in a professional manner. And I believe you need to take a look at the ethics for Florida school board members and suggest that if you can't live up to them, you resign. And if you're up for election, we need to do everything possible to be sure you're not reelected to this board. The children of this district have suffered long enough. I just had lunch with Ray Paudoff just the other day, and I asked him, what was the key to your success, sir? And he said, everything we did was for the children. When I hear Nancy Graham speak, I hear her say, we do this for the children. Board members, get with it. 2 days before school begins, the news press comes out with an article, let Nancy Graham do her job.
Thank you, Mr. Yavaton. Your time's up, sir.
Kathy McKinnon.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. I'd like to start off by saying, as a teacher and a parent here in the district, you will be missed. You're the first superintendent who actually had a sense of humor that I felt gave us credit for being professionals. And I very much appreciate that. We need a little bit more humor in this profession. I am here tonight, though, to talk about the agenda of testing, I would like to say that I do have faith in this district, which is why I'm here. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't even be in the classroom. But I do have faith in this district, and I would like to see if there is another way for us to be able to gather data, to know if our students are learning, but at the same time, not over-test or duplicate test. I'd like to see the district come up with something that would be a happy medium. I'm a science teacher. I love data, but only for the sake of it actually helping learning.
Thank you, Ms. McKinnon. Your time is up, ma'am.
Nevin Marshall.
Evan Marshall. I've been teaching for 14 years in Lee County under great leadership, and I feel like I've become a pretty good teacher at this point. And I would just like to urge the board to vote down the checkpoint schedule, the new testing schedule that we got. If you would like to know how the students are doing on the standards, really all you need to do is look at my grade book. I know how they're doing. I'm doing that every day. I'm giving my assessments. I'm doing my thing. And at best, a district checkpoint will just repeat what I've already done. At worst, these district checkpoints will be like the CCEs we've done in the past, which were just not quality, I'll just say. So I just urge you to vote that down. The teachers, we know how to test the standards, and we know how to know if the kids are meeting the standards. If the kid has an A in my civics class, you can be pretty sure they know their stuff pretty good. If they have an F, then you know they probably don't. I don't need another test to tell me that. Thank you.
Blair Baxter.
Blair Baxter. Hi, I'm one of your public school educators, and I happen to be teaching at a middle school. First of all, thank you, Dr. Graham. Your leadership has been so inspiring, and I am so proud to say that I work in Lee County schools this year, and since you've taken over, because it was rather embarrassing previously. I'm here to speak about the frustration that your teachers are being forced to endure. The stress level this year is rather through the roof. Teachers are hired to inspire and enrich children's lives, but we have been given lots of good new ideas. I appreciate that you all have these wonderful ideas, but please realize when you add so much to our plates, it becomes overwhelming. This year alone, we have focus. We knew we were going from Pinnacle. We knew we had to. I'm the Pinnacle focus contact at my school, but it's not working perfectly quite yet.
Thank you, Ms. Baxter. Your time is up, ma'am. Thank you. Your time is up.
Greg Adkins.
Good evening, board members. Greg Adkins. Apologize first, this will be difficult for me, but I'll get through it. Dr. Graham, you came to us during a time that was particularly difficult. Your coming brought us calm, brought us back together as one school district. I sincerely appreciate your leadership during this time of great turmoil, and I'm saddened that we're here today. While I understand, I can't help to be disappointed that as a district, we're again facing a new school year and facing a new transition. We have so much work to do as a school district, and the teachers and children of this district deserve our very best. I wish you the very best in whatever your endeavors, because I know.
Dr. Atkins, your time's up, sir.
Angela Pruitt.
Good evening, board. Mr. Martin. Dr. Graham, thank you for your service. Nancy, happy birthday. And this is for you, and you will understand. Our loving Lord, thank you for being my refuge and my strength. Thank you that no matter what the circumstances, I can count on you to shelter me and give me strength. Thank you that even if things around me seem to crumble, you are always with me, always loving me, always helping me. In Jesus' loving name, I pray. Amen.
Lori Fahey.
Evening, board members, Dr. Graham. I hope the rest of your birthday is better, and I wish you well. I have several items on my list, so I'll try to hurry through them. I hope that you will not vote to accept the testing calendar. We need to have less testing for the children, and the checkpoints, from what I've heard from all the teachers, it's not a good idea. And I'd like at least for us to be able to review the changes that were made at the briefing meeting. I hope that you will postpone the vote on and discussion on Dr. Graham's resignation. The investigation should continue. And my final point is that in reviewing some of the videos from our website, we're missing a lot of the archived videos. I'd like those back up so
Thank you, Ms.
they
Fahey. Your
show our
time's up, ma'am.
history.
Marion Sirotto.
Good evening. The first thing I would like to say is I have a third grade grandchild who is, for the first time, learning Common Core math. She already knows multiplication, and she would not be able to do this speech in less than 4 minutes for one math problem because we timed her, and it's a nightmare. 4 minutes per problem, which is probably the reason why there's so many hours of testing, because that would just be one worksheet. The other thing, too, I would like to discuss is as far as the investigation that we have already paid half of, okay, we have to take into consideration that should Dr. Graham be hired elsewhere, okay, and the same actions happen there, okay, under what accountability would we hold for allowing her to get away with it by not completing the investigation? Now, in the Perez case, we had a clear violation of Statutes 39 of the Florida statutes.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay,
Snyder. Your
to any
time's up, ma'am.
person who was a man.
Thank you. Your time is up, ma'am.
Your time is up. Thank you. Chris Quackenbush.
We have a lot of topics. Number one, we need to stop excessive testing. It's strangling the joy of learning from our children in our schools. Send in a blank schedule like we did last year, and this time mean it. Hold yourselves accountable. Now, it's sad when leaders fail us, and loved ones sometimes do. And they can be forgiven, but we have to have truth and accountability for everything they do. We've achieved neither with the resignation and stopping this investigation. We need to get to the bottom of it. Superintendent Elias was fired from Hillsborough County, and she ended up running New York Department of Education, where she is now threatening all those who are opting out in New York up to 50% or 60% of the children. We can't let that happen. We need to hold someone accountable. We need to continue to find the truth through the investigation and hold our leaders accountable, or we will continue to see the bullying and oppression which has been the hallmark of this district under the leadership of Nancy Graham. Thank you.
Melissa Giovanelli.
Board, Dr. Graham. I just want to say that I'm sure Nancy Graham has been a great leader. I wouldn't doubt that for one moment. However, we all make choices in our life, as I tell my daughter, And when we make those choices, there's consequences. And the consequences results are sometimes not one that we like to do or like to have or anything in that manner. But those consequences happens. And as long as we learn from that, there's hope and there's forgiveness and we move on. So let's roll up our sleeves and let's start. I have faith in this board and that's why I'm here. Thank you very much. It's testing.
Kevin Regal.
Hello. First of all, actually, I would like to wish Dr. Graham a happy birthday. And many of the people that I sit around don't actually know this, but when she first was hired, I was actually one of the happiest people around because I thought it was a fresh start from the past and from the people who had committed all the atrocities against the kids and against myself. And I really thought this would be a fresh start to be able, as the board members, all put me with her to take care of it. 2 to 2.5 years later, we're here at the same point with things not being taken care of. I hope we can all use this opportunity not to pile on, but to do this. Have a fresh start, clear everything that needs to be taken care of, and make it right so we can get on with this district. I hope that's something we can do. Thank you.
Bob Valenta.
Good evening. I had a somewhat different speech prepared. I have mixed emotions tonight. I'm enthused that we can start the healing process, but I'm concerned that some may think the federal investigations go away because she resigned. I would like to thank Nancy Graham for doing the right thing and resigning. Thank you, and happy birthday. The testing schedule on pages 99 through 105 needs to be voted down tonight. It compounds the amount of testing compared to last year. Even though the legislature, agreed that the district monitoring wasn't required, why would we be tripling or quadrupling the amount of checkpoint tests? I certainly hope the interim and the next superintendent does what he or she can to teach, not test, to use common sense, not Common Core. Thank you.
Anthony Thomas.
Be disingenuous and say I thank her for her service because I don't, but I will say happy birthday. I think as we move forward with the school district, I think the thing that we need to realize is character is destiny. When you don't have good character, you don't create a good destiny. As we move forward, we need to have this investigation completed, as some of my friends said, but we also need to realize something from the board. Just because a person can run a corner store, don't mean they can run Walmart. We set this lady up for failure. I really do believe that. I don't believe she's qualified to run a big school district. We need to get a superintendent who has extensive experience on running a school district our size. We need to put all the politics aside and find the best person. We need to do, as the chair once advocated for, a national search to find the best person. And this just shows that there is accountability in government and the culture of corruption, cronyism has come to an end. We're going to put the kids first and set this school district in the right direction. Thank you very much.
Ian Spielmaker. Did I get that name right?
Spielmaker.
Oh. Amy.
Annie Spielmaker.
I'm sorry.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Graham, Mr. Martin. I'm really here to support the students and teachers and principals who understand safety in schools and what it feels like for students to be intimidated or harassed or feel unsafe by certain signs. I was truly shocked when I realized that not that the Confederate flag was brought to a school, but that when a principal recognized that that was in a school that had, you know, a lynching picture at the end of last school year, going around, making that student remove that, and then to be overridden. I'm not sure who's responsible for that, but that, I honor people's past, but that creates an unsafe, intimidating environment in schools. Thank you.
Amy. Time's up.
Amy Rothenberg.
Good evening. I've never done this before, so if my voice shakes, I apologize. Dr. Graham, all due respect to you and gratitude for the leadership you've provided us over the last couple of years. I've been coming to the board meetings for the last couple of weeks to at least be a friendly face in the crowd, and I have witnessed a few vocal members of our community bully you. And bullying, according to the definition, that it's ongoing, it's harmful, and it's hateful. I've watched it.
One more comment, and you will be removed. All right, thank you. Please excuse yourself. Thank you, officer.
Your time has been stopped, ma'am. You have 25 seconds remaining. You may begin.
It breaks my heart that that has been allowed, and that you, but I am impressed with your dignity in sitting here quietly and listening to it, and I apologize for rudeness in our community. I think it's horrible. Thank you.
Okay, that closes public comment. Dr. Graham, I'm going to ask you to direct someone to speak to Mr. Bartlett about the transportation situation he raised. We do not have a policy or protocol with respect to the flag. I think that in the future, the board, in the near future, the board needs to have a conversation about whether or not we need a policy or protocol with respect to symbols. But I am going to ask Dr. Graham to just comment briefly for the public about what's going on at North Fort Myers High School, the student initiative to tackle this in a meaningful way.
The students who are offended and the student who brought the flag have been working together to talk to each other and hear what the issues are. My understanding is that they are putting together a presentation that will be shared with the entire student body with some reflective questioning. They're working with a social studies teacher from the school and to work through that. And after that is completed, then we will see where the school stands. The students have asked for the opportunity to try and resolve this among themselves. They've also, I know that Dr. Bohatch met with them to discuss how to go about making a change in the code of conduct. So as I think I told the board in a memo I sent on Friday, I will keep you updated on the progress of that. As of today, they were finalizing their presentation and reviewing it with the teacher and the students who are involved before they go to the TV production studio to put it together so the entire student body can see it and then work through the questions. They'd like it to be a conversation among all of them at this time.
Thank you. Okay, next is approval of action items in the agenda under consent. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion? Ms. Fisher.
Sorry. No.
Mrs. Dozier.
I have none, thank you.
Mrs. La Riviere.
I have none at this time.
And I have none.
Mrs. Morgan, I'm sorry. On the, we don't pull on superintendent's recommendations at this time. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent action items?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier.
Second.
Second by Ms. La Riviere. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
I have one introduction. It says she's here. Kim Kahn, are you here? Yes, there she is. Kim has moved from reading coach at Ida S. Baker to Varsity Lakes Middle School as an assistant principal. Thank you for your leadership.
Included in the approval of the consent items on the agenda are resolutions proclaiming September 17, 2015 as Constitution Day and Citizenship Day, September 2015 as Do the Right Thing Month, and September 15 to October 15 as National Hispanic Heritage Month. Next, we have our good cause item. Mr. Martin, would you please read the first?
I believe you have superintendent's recommendations first.
Or do that first? Okay. Dr. Graham, would you please read your recommendations?
I recommend board approval of the agreement articulated acceleration plan with Florida Gulf Coast University and the District School Board of Lee County, Florida, to enhance learning opportunities for eligible students with the opportunity to take specified college-level courses in lieu of standard curricular courses at the estimated cost of $1.5 million. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute related documents.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
I recommend board approval of the agreement and articulated acceleration plan with Florida Southwestern State College and the District School Board of Lee County, Florida, to enhance learning opportunities for eligible students with the opportunity to take specified college-level courses in lieu of standard curricular courses. The estimated cost of $1.5 million. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute related documents.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. Any discussion? Ms. Fisher?
Yes. I had this discussion with Dr. Graham earlier today. I was wondering if this was a duplicated item, because one says for Florida Gulf Coast and the other one says for Florida Southwestern, each at 1.5 million. And it was my understanding that we didn't spend that much last year on both schools, so could you please clarify?
Yes, it's two
Thank you.
separate items because it's two separate articulation agreements because it's two institutions. It's a total, it's an estimate, as we do sometimes, we think we won't go over this amount. So it's 1.5 million for both. The total we spent this past year was just under 1.3 million. So, yes, for both, total.
Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
I recommend board approval of the state assessment and district progress monitoring schedule for the 2015-16 school year as submitted at an estimated annual cost of $548,253.43. Approval authorizes the superintendent to modify the testing schedule administration windows as needed and to make other modifications resulting from revisions made by the Florida Department of Education.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier.
Second.
Second by Ms. LaRiviere. Discussion. Mrs. Dozier.
Mrs. Moore, excuse me, it's 48 cents. I think I said the wrong number.
Mrs. Dozier.
Thank you. You know, we were briefed on the checkpoints, and while it might have sounded like a good idea, and it might have looked like it was a good idea, when you look down at the minutes per year, after hearing from numerous teachers with the concern that we are questioning and challenging their professionalism, I will not be able to support this evening. We have teachers that say, you know, we know what the standards are. We are teaching the students what they need to learn. We have a syllabus that, you know, the teachers are supposed to learn certain topics, and those are being taught, and we know what's being taught. And this is it appears to be an attempt to second guess what the teachers are doing. In fact, someone spoke tonight to the fact that, you know, the morale of teachers, and I know I believe it was the last board meeting that we had, I spoke about a teacher that I had met with for a couple of hours, and that particular teacher had talked about how low the morale was, and this was during the pre-week or the week prior to students coming in. And I said at that time, if we already have this going on now, we've got to find a way to take some things off of these teachers' plates. And I think that this testing schedule is a way of putting more things on their plates, so I will not be able to support it this evening. Thank you.
Mrs. Fisher.
Yes. I also question this, especially after a talc and Spelk-sponsored town hall meeting at the Cape Coral Public Library where more than 40 teachers came to speak. I iterated my concerns both to Dr. Graham and to Ms. Ralph, who sat and explained some of the changes that were affected over this past weekend. And I noticed that the estimated annual cost is now $548,253.48 instead of $1,128,811.57. I believe that there were some significant changes made to that, and I'd like to ask for an explanation of that so everybody clearly understands what exactly we're voting on right now this evening, because the changes were made this weekend, so this is a short time to review this. And also, I need some explanation about the approval also authorizes the superintendent to modify the testing schedule administration windows as needed to make other modifications resulting from revisions made by the Florida Department of Education. And I have clearly stated that I very much appreciate all of the work done by our staff. However, I'm extremely frustrated with the state. They are not giving us timely information, and they are holding us hostage, as I've said before, with this whole testing thing. I want to be sure that we are not doing more than we absolutely need to, and that what we are doing has some relevance and meaning, and that we're using the data collected to drive instruction, not to retain kids or punish teachers whose kids don't get high scores. So if there's a way we could get some explanation so that people will understand the revisions, I'd appreciate that.
You want it now?
Please.
Okay. The revisions are a result, we took out the biggest expense that we removed was at the secondary level using some of the progress monitoring that's available through Achieve 3000. And that's where the biggest cost reduction came from. We went through and we reduced, and you've got a schedule there of how much we reduced the number of minutes. The state says that we can be up to 5%, and we are nowhere near that at any grade level. We took out those things that we believe, we've stayed within the letter of the law, but we've taken out those things that we believe would have given a more clear definition to teachers and students and parents of where children were on specific standards, and we have reduced the number of those progress monitoring. So we're doing the minimum, and we believe that when what we've done is we've still got everything available. Any teacher that wants to use the resources that we've provided, they can use them, but we are allowing schools to determine on their own what they want to use to be sure that the standards are being monitored and that they are being met. And we will continue to work with staffs and teachers. One of the things that nobody wants to talk about is part of all of this and part of the concern as far as the scores is VAM. And that's out of our purview of control, and you won't find anybody in this district that is a believer in VAM and what it's supposed to represent, but that's part of the issue that nobody's talking about, and we were trying to provide a consistent, I don't really like the word fair, but a consistent way to make judgments about children's progress, because ultimately it does affect teachers and their performance, the performance part of their evaluation. So we have removed much of what would have helped us with that, and we're going to have to figure out another way to meet the formula for VAM. That's probably what we will miss the most from what we've taken out. That was an effort to positively provide some performance ratings, but we've removed that. So what was presented prior to today is different, and you can go through the documents and anybody can see them. I can actually ask that they be put on the website if people really want to study them, but we have struck out anything that we've removed. And so, for instance, I'm going to look at kindergarten if I can see it. Just to give you, for instance, we went from in kindergarten 0.6% to 0.4. We went from 0.5 to 0.3 in first grade, and we went from 2.4 to 1.7 in fifth grade. We made reductions all the way across the board in how much progress monitoring occurs. There must be some. That's what the state's checking for on this calendar, to see that we are measuring the standards along the way. So we believe we've made significant cuts to respond to those comments that have been made by teachers and by people who have concerns. And again, I just want to emphasize, even though there are still some concerns about the number of questions or what the questions are on the assessments themselves, teachers helped create these, and we did not have people sit in a room and have a secret meeting and decide what would be on those. They were teacher created, teacher reviewed, and we'll just continue to work together. There's going to come a time when we're going to have to figure out a way to have some formative assessments that are consistent, because what we're going to be back to, and we acknowledge it, and we'll just have to figure out a way with the VAM, but we will have no real common denominator as far as progress monitoring at this point.
Thank you, Dr. Graham. I think my concern, board members, is that it looks like about half of the progress monitoring assessments are stricken. So that doesn't really change the length of some of the assessments that the kids may be having. And so I'm still concerned about the total number of instructional hours versus the total number of testing hours or minutes as it is put here. And the number of, for instance, we had a communication from a parent who did some work with the time and the minutes, and depending on, for instance, at middle school level, depending on the school, the subject periods may vary in length. So if, for instance, there's an assessment that's a checkpoint that takes 70 minutes and the periods are 45 minutes, then that's interrupting 2 full class times. And so we're doing math, science, social studies, civics, reading. I'm just concerned that we are still spending too much time with too many lengthy assessments as progress monitoring and checkpoints. And Dr. Graham and I have had this conversation before, because it's been a while since I've been in the classroom. But when I progress monitored, and I did all the time, it didn't take me 70 minutes. The questions weren't 25 or 30 questions. I mean, how many questions does it take to determine whether or not we've mastered a standard? And when we had the town hall meeting, I listened to many teachers saying that they progress monitor. They could do an end of the chapter test. So I'm just not quite sure where we are when we say that we have stricken these, but that they're still available and still optional, and then people at the individual schools can decide how much and whether they are going to do it. So how is that common to the district then, if people individually at individual schools can decide? And I hope that means that the teachers and the administration would decide together. So I'm...
Ms. Fisher, let me say it,
Please.
this. The total hours, 900 hours. So again, if you look at the chart for English language, for non-English language learners, the total testing time for kindergarten of those 900 hours is 4 hours. First grade is 3 hours. That's the actual testing time. Now, the other things that are available are if teachers choose to use them in place of creating their own. If they create their own, and we have not asked to see them, we are counting on their ability and their professionalism. They just have to be sure that the rigor and the direct assessment of mastery of the standards, that's what makes this different than when you and I were in school. The standards are very, very clear. The description of what it means to master it is very specific, and so they have to be sure whatever assessment they're giving, whether it's a 2 or 3 question check or if it's a unit test at the end of the chapter, we just have to be sure that they are actually measuring that the standard has been mastered, because ultimately the whole point of progress monitoring is ultimately the state assessments. That's what they're looking for. Have they mastered the standard? So if you look, it looks like a lot. If you just look at how many numbers there are across the page, or how many, and if you look, we have pretty much taken a quarter of the assessments out. And we have gone, instead of doing it every quarter, we're only doing it 3 of the 4. But if you look at grand total hours testing time, the total hours possible in instruction, there's 900. And again, if you look at that line that tells how many hours there are, it gives you some perspective. I understand your concern, and I understand that assessment is a dirty word, but in education, it is a valuable tool. It is intended to drive instruction. So what teachers find out through the assessments that they do is which part of instruction they need to either do again or hopefully do a different way, because some of the kids didn't get it. That's really what this is all about. We need to know what the kids know, and if they need to learn it a different way to know it because the assessment shows that they have missed the standard, then we have to go back. And as was presented in the briefing a couple of weeks ago, we in no way measure every standard.
Right.
So we've chosen the key ones that we believe our children have to be able to be competitive. And we don't like to talk about competition, but our children have to be able to compete globally, and this is the start of that.
And I do understand all that. So the 900 hours is for the whole year, right?
Yes.
For the whole school year?
Total
Okay.
hours.
Total hours. So that's based on approximately 5 hours of instructional time in the school day. Which would give us like 120 days, so.
Yeah, that's 180. 180 times 5 is 900.
Okay, you're right, 180, right. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, I better go back and do some math. Okay. Thank you.
Ms. LaRiviere.
Just as I spent a lot of time looking at this today and even now, the majority of what I see on here has to do with the state, and that has to do with retakes for ELA grade 10 and for Algebra 1 retakes and biology history. I see a lot of it is mostly, a great deal of it is retakes. The other component that I see are all end-of-course exams. Civics is a one-semester course, I believe. Is that correct?
In middle school?
In middle school?
It's all year, I think, yeah. It's all
That's what
year.
I thought. So that's why we see a civics end-of-course in December, in the winter, and then another one at the end of the year. We also have PSAT. We have the STAR. When I look at all of them, it appears to me that every one is linked to the state for differentiated accountability and the progress monitoring we have to do for that piece. There is nothing left on here that does not have to do with what the state requires for progress monitoring or state differentiated accountability piece, correct?
Yeah, we removed, because what we had in there originally, we removed the Common Course exams at the secondary level, which is why we reduced the cost as well. We took all of those out, and we're going to have a different set of data then to deal with, and that's actually where the VAM comes in as well. So,
So
but yes, what's left is the bare minimum that the state expects to see on this calendar.
All right. So there is, in all honesty, nothing left that we can change because it is contingent on what the state requirements are at this time. I see all of the science checkpoints have been removed. All of the social studies text points have been removed. Writing checkpoints have been removed. Reading checkpoints have been removed. And what's left there is the ELA checkpoint for progress monitoring based on the differentiated accountability component. And this afternoon, I didn't get a chance to ask this question of Ms. Ralph F. following, but I believe, did I hear her say that the schools will have the opportunity, will schools have to do the progress monitoring for differentiated accountability with all of their students, or only for those students who are in jeopardy of not being successful?
Level 1 and 2, I believe. Level one, I'm looking at your fingers. Level 1, 2, and 3. Yes. So 4 and 5, no.
No, okay. So as I look at this, having been in those schools and having to deal with the DA and all of the other components, I see nothing here that really can be removed unless we ask them not to let our students be part of the field test for the writing component that is given in November, December.
And just one last comment. The other part of my concern is that the tests that have been eliminated are still available and optional. So how do we know? I mean, how do we know who's going to do what? And then the fact that we can modify the schedule as needed to make other modifications resulting from revisions by the Florida.
And I meant to address that. If the state comes back and changes something, then it gives me the authority to just make that change. That's what that's about, instead of having to come back.
So could that change be adding more tests?
I'm not anticipating that in the current climate, but I would not want to speak for the state.
No one wants to.
And if you all are uncomfortable with that and feel the need for it to come back every time the state makes an adjustment, obviously as the board, that's the authority to do that.
Well, I would like to weigh in since I haven't made a comment.
Yes, please.
I guess what concerns me is that we have a strategic plan that is geared towards increasing student performance and closing gaps. And to do that, we do it with standards, and I don't understand. I sort of feel like we're trying to micromanage how that gets done. We set our strategic plan. The plan is that we will see growth in student achievement. We will see closing of the gaps for English language learners, children in poverty, that kind of thing. And then at the same time, we want to take away, or we want to manage the process by which the superintendent and staff are attempting to facilitate accelerated improvement in student progress. So that's my dilemma. I support the progress monitoring schedule, one, because it sounds to me like we're doing exactly what the state has told us we must do. So, but beyond that, I am concerned that we are overstepping, we are creating a conflict. A what?
Our job is not to micromanage.
No, it's not, but we're also creating an internal conflict. And so that's my comment. Is there other board member comment? Mr. Martin?
Just to be sure that the board understands what you're voting on in terms of this authority provided to the superintendent, the agenda item reads, authorize the superintendent to modify the testing schedules administration windows as needed, that's one. And two, to make other modifications resulting from revisions made by the Florida Department of Education, that's two. Just wanted you to be sure you understood there are two components of that authorization.
Thank you. Other comment? Seeing none. Actually, Dr. Graham, would you just read the recommendation again?
I recommend board approval of the state assessment and district progress monitoring schedule for the 2015-16 school year as submitted at an estimated annual cost of $548,253.48. Approval also authorizes the superintendent to modify the testing schedule administration windows as needed and to make other modifications resulting from revisions made by the Florida Department of Education.
Okay, you've heard the superintendent, oh, we've had the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Okay, that's a 2-2,
And you have no action.
no action, okay.
Just for the board's understanding, this is an action that has to be taken by the 1st of October.
That's correct. Thank
So
you.
You can't proceed to make revisions tonight, or you can ask the superintendent to bring a recommendation on the 22nd at your next action meeting.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the first good cause item. Recommend the acceptance of the letter of resignation for purpose of retirement submitted by Superintendent Dr. Nancy J. Graham. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier,
Second.
seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. The second good cause, approve the recommendation to terminate investigation of the conduct of the superintendent, Dr. Nancy J. Graham, in the matter of Dunbar Community School investigation of testing violations. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher. Second. Second by Ms. LaRiviere. Discussion. Mrs. Dozier.
Well, this question is for Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin, in lieu of the information that he has already collected, well, I know that, I believe this says that it's going to cost us a total of approximately $5,000. For that, is there any type of a report that he's going to submit?
It would not be a report, but of course there are documents that have been created.
Okay, all
So
right.
those would
So
be
any
available.
documents that he's already created or anything that he's already done, he will submit that to us?
Yes, ma'am. I don't believe he would submit it to us unless that's the board's desire. If your request is that it be submitted for your review, or it'll be maintained and provided at your request.
Well, I would think that we need to have those documents submitted to us. I mean, it's, we paid for them, I think we need to.
We paid
Yeah.
for it. We should have.
Yeah.
Depending on the contents, and I've not reviewed the contents, of course, there may be a requirement to provide notice to individuals being investigated of any derogatory information before it's released.
Any other discussion?
Well, I think he's looking for direction for us, so there's only been two of us, basically. Weren't you asking for direction, Mr. Martin?
Well, yes, I thought I heard direction to
Okay.
to
Yeah.
obtain
Okay.
those.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yes,
thank you.
Mrs. LaRiviere.
Mr. Martin, I believe you had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Toiber
Oh, yes,
this
thank,
afternoon. Did he have anything to say regarding this issue?
yes, ma'am, thank you for mentioning that. He did ask that, of course, since he's not here and not participating by phone, he cannot file a vote with respect to either of these recommendations, but he did ask me to share that with respect to both of these two recommendations I'm presenting this evening, that he is in support of those recommendations.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Mr. Martin, you have a recommendation.
Yes, Ms. Morgan, board members, at the November 18, 2014 organizational meeting, the school board adopted a slate of meetings for the year. That slate included a September 22nd, 6 p.m. regular board meeting. At your August 25, 2015 workshop, you discussed changing the time of that regular board meeting in order to avoid a conflict with the observance of Yom Kippur. To accomplish this desire, the board agreed to change the time of the September 22nd regular board meeting to 2 p.m. So this evening, I'm recommending the board approve the change to the time of the September 22nd, 2015 regular board meeting from 6 p.m. to 2 p.m.
You've heard the attorney's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. LaRiviere, seconded by Ms. Fisher. Discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, board member comments. Ms. Fisher.
Okay. I probably talked enough about the town hall meeting, which was extremely eye-opening and informative, and I appreciate the input of all those who took the time to come out. We also had a meeting with our legislators and county commissioners, and we talked about some of our capital funding issues, and they wanted to know what they could do regarding the need for schools and maintenance of buildings and some of the technology unfunded mandated. Any consideration that they would be able to act on would take a considerable period of time. So I think we left that meeting with the understanding that there wasn't really much that they could do at this time to help the district, and that we are going to have to help ourselves. Today, I'm sad for the students and staff of this district. I wish Godspeed to Dr. Graham, and I thank her for her leadership, the changes that she's made in this district academically, and in helping our leaders develop instructionally. Her departure is going to mean a lot of time, energy, money, disruption, and we don't know what else, because we don't know what will come next. And I just want to say, nothing or nobody is perfect. We are on a daily basis creating the future. Change is constant and inevitable. We can't change the direction of the wind, but we can adjust our sails, and that's what we'll do. We'll readjust and we'll move forward. It is my hope that this board and the board that'll follow us next year will come together and truly work as a team with the focus on our mission and vision, because I think we have been lacking in that, as Reverend Yanatode so eloquently stated. So we'll continue to move forward and educate our students to do their very best, and they will ultimately benefit our entire community. Thank you, Nancy. God bless.
Mrs. Dozier.
Thank you. I will be presenting all of you with a Board of Directors report at a later time from the Florida School Boards Association. Now, on the good cause items that came before us this evening, I will say that when I got the news earlier today, I did find it surprising, and I was shocked by the information. And I regret that we are here. But, you know, I want to wish you all the best, Dr. Graham, as you move forward with the next chapter, the next page in your life. But the one thing that I know that is constant in this district, and I've always seen it, is we have outstanding teachers in this district. We have dedicated, committed employees that get our students to school on time, that feed our children every day. They care about our kids. They care about our buildings. They care about the environment that the students are in. And you know, it doesn't matter a lot of times what goes on or what we do up here, because they go into their classrooms every day, they go into their schools, or they open their bus doors, or they go into the cafeteria, and they get their job done. And I have complete faith that with these employees and the caliber of the employees that we have in this district, that it will not be business as usual, but they will commit to doing the absolute best that they can for why they are there, and they are there for the students, just like all of us are here for the students. So hopefully we will be able to get past this, move on, and do what we need to do as far as a district. Thank you.
Ms. LaRiviere.
Okay, I was shocked today with what came about as Good Cause, and I will be discussing that after I share some of the pieces I had already planned to share this evening. I had let people know that if they had, I wish they had told me about financial needs that they had, to please contact me, so that I had some ideas and ways that maybe we might be able to work with them. There were 3 who contacted me specifically, and as I discussed things with 2 of those people, it became very clear to me that if we have it with 2, we have that problem with more. We have a great deal of our employees, not any fault of their own, circumstances cause it, that there is great financial need, that a $3,000 loan really would have been just a Band-Aid. So I have been chatting with a few people. It's caused me to think about something. We need to come up with a way. A way needs to be brought forward so that we can help our staff. I thank Dr. Pruitt and our wellness program for being proactive last year and bringing forward the Dave Ramsey program for our staff members to participate in. What's amazing about that program is that it's done by video. You can do it at home, and your spouses and your children can watch it with you. And that's a level of assistance. Oh, and by the way, it was filled. And there are possibilities, it will be coming forward again for our staff members as well. But we have needs for our staff members financially with regard to when they are well. When they are well, they need to be, again, to start working and having a plan of action and budgeting. I never did that, by the way. And then we have a level of moderate care. Moderate care is when there's a time where you say, ooh, this has just come up. We had to do that for us, and we had to take out a loan so we could adopt our daughter. We weren't prepared for that. That happens sometimes with our staff members. So there's moderate care. So there's times that we have to go for something short and sweet. And then there's outpatient surgery, I'll call it. I have to address it in medical terms. And that's where there's a little bit more extensive work that needs to be done, where you meet with a financial counselor and they help you come up with a plan. And then there's what Mr. Toiber is going through today, which is a total inpatient surgery, where it's major and it's drastic, and they're in a great deal need of help. And they need a lot more help to help them with that whole debt management and come up with a better plan that can be extremely cohesive and will meet the needs of themselves and our family members. So I am looking forward to what will be forthcoming in the next couple of months, because I believe we have some opportunity where we can help all of our staff members with that. I also do believe that if we can make note that we do need to relook at policy 5.15 and make sure that it is fair and equitable to serve all of our employees with regard to payroll reductions for other needs such as this, so that we may not have to look at voting to I guess, what was it we were trying to do? Suspend the policy. We need to look at that so that we have something so that we are able to move forward. And we do need to make sure that it's fair and equitable. And I hope that my thought is we will have everyone involved with it, from SPALC to TALC, to the foundation, to board members, to district employees, to assist us in this. But I believe we can make it happen. Also, just a reminder, this coming Friday is Patriots Day, as we remember 9/11, and a note to put in the minutes for us to think about next year, Ms. Johnson, is in the future, it would be nice and would behoove us as a district if we as a board would have a resolution with regards to Patriots Day. And a reminder to our administrators and instructional personnel to take a moment, share the history of what happened on 9/11 and why we do remember it, because many of our students have no concept of what took place on that day. I'm saddened and yet I totally understand Dr. Graham's decision to resign. There is that time when you decide, it's time for me to retire. It's time for something new to happen. I am saddened even more so that it happened within the climate that we currently have. Many people who disagree with me, it's going to require private conversations one-on-one. I can say with all honesty that the leadership we have had, and again, not everyone is perfect, but with our assistant, from our assistant superintendents, executive directors, our, oh dear, and I can't remember just exactly what the title is. For those of you who are working with school development, I think we have probably involved people with the most integrity and wisdom that we have ever had placed in those positions as a district. I believe, and I always said, God is on his throne and truth will prevail. Dr. Graham, I thank you for your integrity, your grace, and your mercy. I will say that many of the naysayers and those who are speaking, I have learned there are lots of facts. And many times we sit here and we do hear the facts. However, I would say that in many of these situations, we haven't heard all of the facts because we haven't heard from the other people. And it's only when each of those facts have been heard and spoken that we truly know what the truth is. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for what has happened and driving our district forward. I've heard from more teachers and administrators that they have received more positive communication from the district offices than they ever have in their years of tenure in the district. And that's over several different people. And bullying, most people are having to overcome their full fear of bullying over what was in place several years ago, not under Dr. Graham's tenure. So it is with regret that I have to accept your resignation. I wish you well. And I am blessed to have had the opportunity to work with you and get to know you. And I'm looking forward to the next couple of months and the leadership that will continue to take place. And I thank you, those of you who are administrators, teachers, everyone out there that's here tonight that's working with our students. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being there every day for our kiddos. And I just thank you that you know exactly what to do. And I'm so glad that we have such wonderful staff members working for us. And with that, I will end.
Okay. Mrs. Dozier, we waited for you to be here this evening to talk about the student advisory meeting on September 29th. The only board member who will be available is Mrs. Fisher. We wanted your input, since you're the liaison, as to how to handle that meeting.
Well, I know she'll do a fantastic job. She's been there at several meetings, and I know she'll do a good job for the first meeting. I mean, she knows that we basically need to organize, and we've got all the minutes from the last first meeting, and you just will do the same thing, basically.
No problem.
So thank you for doing that.
Board members, in all likelihood, Mr. Teuber will only be able to attend the workshop on September 22nd by phone. I will not be able to attend at all. Do you wish to have the board workshop on the 22nd, or do you wish to cancel that at this time?
I would say if we're not all going to be able to be there, let's cancel it at this time.
I concur.
Because we changed, Mrs. Dozier, because we changed the meeting from 6 to 2, we were
Right.
talking about changing the workshop to 9 a.m. and
Okay, yeah.
you're okay with that? Okay.
I mean, I'm good with the workshop. Whatever y'all want to do, I'm fine with.
So, no workshop?
That's fine,
Okay. Board staff has checked our calendars. There is an opportunity for us to schedule a workshop next week, Tuesday, September 15th, from 1:30 to 5:30, to start planning for the succession of superintendent. And so I would like your consent to go ahead and schedule that, so Mr. Martin may advertise it. Mrs. Dozier?
Can we check to see if Mr. Teuber will be available for that meeting
Uh,
by phone?
I think he will be. Did he not say something to you about that?
Yes, I did have a conversation with him late today, just before the budget hearing,
Okay.
and discuss the issues that were coming
Yeah.
for us this evening, which I've expressed to you his opinion on. And he did indicate that he's recovering quickly. He would anticipate and plans to be available for any meeting that's needed next week.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
what time was that?
1:30 to 5:30. You have a dentist appointment, right?
That's earlier, but I also have a mayor's scholarship thing at 5:30, so I may have to leave like a half hour
Okay.
early.
Okay.
And the desire is for that to be a workshop,
Yes,
not to be able to take action.
that is correct. This would not be an action meeting. This is a planning meeting. And then, Mr. Martin, should we choose to take action, how much time do we require subsequent to that to?
For a special meeting for
Yes.
that purpose, the notice in the newspaper would be 2 days in advance.
Okay.
Now, it takes at least 2 days before that to contact the news press and get that placed, 2 to 3 days. So we should plan on 5 days out for
Well, then,
that purpose.
what I would like to do, just as a placeholder then, is to schedule a special meeting on Friday. We can always cancel it, right?
What Friday are you talking about?
If at the workshop, we want to take action.
Why couldn't we not just go ahead and take action on the 20? Oh, because yes, got it.
Well, you can take, I'm just trying to do it while Mr. Teuber and I can both participate.
Right, I understand.
Mrs. Dozier?
Well, I would ask Mr. Martin, I know that we have had situations in the past where we have scheduled meetings and then we have had to cancel. I know, I can think of one incident where a meeting was canceled and there was a notice put on the door, of the cancellation of the meeting. So would it be better for us to go ahead and schedule a meeting, say, I know that is at 5:30, but the mayor's scholarship, I realize that that is, you know.
That's after the workshop. Oh.
Well, what I'm saying is if we go ahead and have a meeting, though, scheduled for that night, because sometimes it helps you to go ahead and kind of get things through.
Sub for me.
If we decided to go ahead and schedule a meeting that evening,
On the 15th or the 18th?
on the 15th. And then that way, Mr. Toiber and Mr. Morgan both would be available. And then in lieu that we didn't get through our discussions and wanted to cancel it, wouldn't we be able to give notice that way?
Well, yes, you could, if you did not need the meeting.
Okay,
Now, one
all right.
concern I would have is that it would be difficult to prepare an agenda for that special meeting until you've completed your discussion at the workshop.
Right.
So for full public notice, there may need to be some separation time to provide an appropriate agenda. That was my concern.
And I'm agreeing just from the point of view, I'm not into this rush to judgment thing. I think that if we have a workshop and we have time to reflect and we decide that we want to do a special meeting, that there needs to be, that my preference would be a break.
Oh, yes, and I believe you were suggesting at the earliest would be that Friday.
Right.
After the meeting. Which would be the, what date is that?
18th.
September 18th. What time of the day would the board
Yeah,
wish
what
to
time
have
of
that
the
meeting?
day?
Let's say 2 p.m.
Well,
All right, if you have a,
well, I do have a conflict that day.
Then what time
and,
works for you?
I have a conflict because I have to keep someone, and I don't have anybody else to keep that person that day, so if we had it earlier, I could participate. But if we wait till 2, I'm gonna have to leave at 2:30.
give me a time.
Well, anytime during that day,
All right,
earlier.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Okay.
If the board does not need that meeting, if that's where we get to, then yes, certainly that we could post notices. We could also potentially have an ad placed. We would make the attempt to do that, though it wouldn't be 2 days in advance. It would still be there.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Graham, thank you for displaying courage and grace while under personal and professional attack from colleagues and members of the public. Your demeanor throughout the past 14 months has been a model for our children and our staff. On behalf of the students, staff, and entire Lee County School District community, thank you for your educational leadership for the past 2.5 years. Your dedication to providing optimal educational opportunities for every student was evident throughout your superintendency. Your determination to create learning communities at every level of the organization and provide opportunities for all of us to learn and grow was evidenced in the programs you led and supported. In your first year, you confronted chaos and restored calm. In your second year, you and your leadership team aligned all aspects of the district's operations toward the same goals. You will leave the school district in a different and much better place. Your leadership has advanced the district's progress toward our vision and goals to be a world-class school district that ensures each student reaches his or her highest personal potential. It has been my privilege to work with you. Thank you. Mr. Martin.
Yes, Ms. Morgan, board members, just a couple of things. If I could just provide a little bit of explanation, I think that might make some of the discussions this evening a bit clearer. With the action that the board has taken this evening with respect to accepting the resignation, that is effective December 21st, the school board is still bound to maintain Dr. Graham as an employee during that period of time and provide the compensation provided for under the contract, but they are not bound to maintain Dr. Graham as the superintendent, and that's the discussion the board was having with respect to the possibility of taking action with respect to that office. One other item I needed to explain to you tonight, board members, and this is information I should have shared with you at the last meeting, but I failed to do so, and that's with respect to information concerning OCR complaints being shared with the board members in the past. To my knowledge, in the 18.5 years of service that I've provided to the school district, the practice in this respect has been for Office of Civil Rights complaints to be received, addressed, and resolved by the superintendent with assistance of legal counsel. Though I've not been privy to all communications between superintendents and board members, it's my understanding that information concerning the receipt and resolution of such complaints has not been routinely shared with board members. As I said, this is information I should have shared with you at the last board meeting when the issue was being discussed. I regret failing to do so. I would like to tell you that though I do not have a memory of a specific conversation with respect to this practice, I'm confident that I was part of the discussion that led to that decision to establish the practice. So I will take responsibility for that practice and the practice that has recently been followed, and welcome direction from the school board to change that practice if that's desired. Dr. Graham, it's been a great pleasure. I wish you well. I wish you God's blessing. Thank you.
Dr. Graham. Thank you for accepting my resignation. And I've learned in this role that there are two parts to this role. One is leading the district, and the other is trying to bring leadership to the board. I'm very proud of the way I've led the district, and I am confident that the leadership that's in place will continue to press on with the things that we have started. And you have my commitment that as long as you have me here, whether it's for a week or until December 21st, I'll continue to work as hard as I've been working. The other part of the role is, as I said, leading the board, and I'm sorry I was unable to do a better job at that. And I will continue to pray for this district while I'm here. I do that every day anyway, but while I'm here and after I leave, and you all are going to have to figure out what you want from your leader and give that to them up front. And you're all very talented and very intelligent and have much to bring to the table. And the next superintendent is going to need some clarity on what's expected. The only other thing, I've hesitated all night whether or not to share it, but I'm going to, because this is on my wall at home, and it probably summarizes. I've been told that I have grace. I had a very good mother, and I've been thanked, and I appreciate that greatly. And I've been criticized, and I've listened to that and reflected on that for quite some time. And I keep coming back. This is one of the things I keep coming back to, and that is that people are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. You forgive them anyway. If you're kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you're successful, you'll win some unfaithful friends and some genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you're honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, some may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway. Give the best you have, and it will never be enough. Give your best anyway. In the final analysis, it's between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. I have meant it every time I've said that it's a privilege and an honor to lead this district. It will continue to be so as long as I'm permitted to be here. I thank you for the opportunity, and grateful to the people that are here. Did not ask them to come. So I just want you to know that. But I'm grateful for all who took the time to speak. And this is a great district, but please be very clear that leadership does matter, and what goes on in the schools goes on because there are great people in the schools, but there are great people behind the scenes helping them get their work done every day. So thank you again. It remains a privilege and an honor, and you have my commitment as long as you have me stay. Thank you.
The next scheduled meeting of the board is September 15th at 1:30, a school board workshop. At this point, having no other business to come before this body, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.